Bobby's reward was vibrancy. That's what she most wanted. So she started off by going through her entire house and getting rid of all the stress foods. She had to deal with her husband and negotiate with him, but they came up with the idea that we could do anything for 50 days. We've tried it the other way for a long time. We can do anything for 50 days. She also was really careful with the exercise because she had joint problems, and so instead of just doing an hour worth of walking, she did 20 minutes of running around the house and doing some housework. She did 20 minutes of walking the dog. She did 20 minutes of getting up early in the morning and stretching and doing yoga. She mixed it up, but she still added up to an hour. So she was really going right forward and collecting 6 or 7 points every day. She did the joy points. She was bringing to mind some happy moments in her life. She's also very sensual, so she did a lot of bathing and lotion and other kinds of activities that just gave her surges of joy. When it came to the survival circuit, it was hard. And the reason is that all of us either hyper-arouse and have lots of emotions when we're in stress, or we shut down. And for Bobby, she would shut down. So it wasn't really safe to feel her feelings. And unless she could feel her feelings, she couldn't activate the circuit. So she had to be really gentle with herself. So what she did is she began to see the circuit, that it really is a wire, and she wasn't used to that. Instead, she was used to shaming herself. But the idea that it had been something that had happened when she was either really in stress or before the age of 3, when we don't have a prefrontal cortex that can see us and hear us and feel us anyway, she began to stop the shame. And she began to see that it was a wire and that she did get that, like, get up and go. At first she says, really I just get my comfort from food, or I get my pleasure from food. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about addiction. We're talking about a dopamine high. We're talking about getting charged up and saying, I get my safety, I get my survival. I absolutely have to have it no matter what. And so when she began to move to that, she's okay, that it must be with that charge, and then I go numb, it must be a survival circuit. It must be one of those cross wires. So she began to take some time every day during sanctuary time, where she took 10 minutes just to be quiet with herself and to go inside and use the tools, and to really begin to imagine that it was a circuit, to begin to isolate that moment just before she gets so charged up that she's going to get the stress foods no matter what, and begin to feel it somewhere in her body. And for Bobby, it was right in her very center. She just began to feel it. And she asked her husband to sit with her while she did and just be a loving presence for her, and to notice that her mind began to travel back. And then she felt sad, and then all the feelings turned off like a faucet, just gone. But she knew that all she had to do was relax, and the faucet would turn it back on, and the feelings would continue. So she began to learn how to stay with herself emotionally so she could begin to travel back. The other thing that came up for Bobby was that she had really resisted losing weight. It felt unsafe to her to lose weight. And yet she knew that she didn't have that emotional anchor where she could actually go inside and really feel her feelings to the point that she even knew whether she was hungry or full or not. And so she experimented with decreasing stress by taking off some weight. In other words, the weight was actually feeding back into her brain and increasing her stress. So she didn't want to have that. So she started with saying, okay, I'll have some joy foods in my house, but mainly I'm going to eat vegetables and protein at night just for 3 days until I could wake up hungry in the morning. And when you wake up hungry in the morning, that means you've switched your body from storing weight to releasing weight. And that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to release some of the extra weight to decrease her stress.